individual. With the individual.
With the clerk, all.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have them all.
I get the fact. You're gonna, the first part, are you gonna meet with the individual cities or did you talk about? Help me out with that, but
Well, so the first step to goal is to get the outstanding. We don't have contracts with some of the towns for this year yet. But that's the first step, is to get those done and then negotiate 3 years from there.
After they're signed.
I guess the one comment I have, and I know I did visit with Bill on it, don't think it's fair that. We have one city, i.e. Elba Lake, that's pays in December and the rest of them either pay monthly or quarterly. And I know the contracts don't state a payment plan. But either in the future they should, or it should be an understanding that they should pay like the rest of the cities, either monthly or quarterly. It should be billed accordingly.
So the recommendation from Justin was that and that's why we're meeting with the clerks, is that nobody really knows the last time that contract was redone. Probably wasn't, it's probably the one that was. So we're gonna look at everything.
It was too open-ended.
So there was a complaint process approved, but it was never written down.
Right.
So that needs to be added. It needs some time.
I guess my point would be then, I think we should instruct Chad. If one of the cities pay quarterly, we should instruct Chad to bill the city of Elba Lake quarterly.
So my understanding was there was never a bill sent out. It was just they paid when they paid.
Right.
So that's as much on us as anybody else.
Right, but it doesn't mean, Troy, that we should just accept one count the city getting 11.5 months worth of financing and the rest of them don't.
Well, I'm not saying it does. I'm saying that's on this group
Right, and that's why.
as much as anybody else.
Then I would make a motion that we instruct our county auditor to bill the cities respectively either monthly or quarterly. And let them option to pay monthly or quarterly. That's my motion, Mr. Chair.
Let's say that one more time.
That we instruct our county auditor to bill the respective cities for the law enforcement contracts to pay either monthly or quarterly.
Okay, we have a motion, we get a second?
I got something to say. Before.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying there, Kenny, yeah, I do, but can't we just get that all in the new wording? When we get this all. When they meet, we're gonna tell them this is what we're gonna do.
But I heard we were gonna redo the contract, so in other words, then if they choose, we'll get another year of 11.5 months for financing. Are we okay with that?
No.
And I'm saying I'm not.
No.
It's not on any of the contracts.
No.
So if we just bill them and we give each the respective city the option to pay. But one of the options I don't think should be in December 15th or whatever date they come.
So that's part of the problem too, is you've got 3 contracts signed and 3 that aren't, and now that essentially changes the terms of that contract. So you have some that are already signed and some that haven't, because the current contract says may. That would be like changing it to a shall. That's my concern, is now we're opening up even the ones we've already got that are signed, we're opening those ones back up. So essentially, if that passes, we have no signed contract. We're starting over.
Yeah.
Well, I made, we got
Chad?
Our office doesn't do the billing for that.
okay.
Sheriff's office does.
So then I should correct my motion. And state that the sheriff's department.
So you still want your motion to,
Just to say that, well, so let's back up for a second, and I heard what Troy said. My question is, and we're gonna redo the contract. Are we okay with letting one of the respective cities, and it doesn't matter who it is, it could be any of them, it could be Hoffman. is it okay that we let them have 11.5 months worth of financing on $170,000? Yes or no? I'm saying I don't think it is.
I don't think the new contract would look that way.
That's what I'm saying is, you know, let's just get it into the new contract. Yeah, it might take them this year to get that done, but let's get that in there, that wording, on when they all uniformly will pay.
Needs to be locked up into a schedule.
Cause I agree. I mean, you know, we're putting out personnel and time and effort, you know, and they're, if you pay in December, you're sitting on 175,000, you know.
Mr. Chair, I made a motion. If it dies for lack of second, it'll be in the records that I made the motion, and so that's what it is.
Are you changing it to the sheriff's office?
Yes.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have a second? Motion died due to lack of second.
I had IT, one other committee thing is I had IT look at my computer and the recommendation was to get a new one. If anybody's computer is getting slow, let Carl know. He's getting prices, so we don't have a price to.
Any other committee? Okay. Couple minutes early with emergency management, you come up.
Morning.
Morning.
Told you last time I'd come back, I stayed slightly under the $5,000 limit that Ken gave me, but I think we're about $400 I can get everything that I would need for that. We did find in the process that my system, my computer and docking station may need some tweaks to it, but otherwise that's through, my understanding is that goes through the department head meeting, so I'll bring that there to them, but for the TV and the connections and mount for the wall, it was just right around $400. So I think you got that in your packet of stuff, but.
I will make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Motion, the second, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion to purchase the TV, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
And then the other part is the EMPG, it should be EMPG grants. My understanding in the past, because it's a 50-50 grant, Tina brought it to the board for approval before submitting that final documentation. I do have the signed piece that you'll see in your packet as well. But just wanted to make sure that you're aware it is a 50-50 grant. They are slowly catching up. We just got 2022 a few weeks ago. This would be the 2023 grant. When I was at the conference this last week, they did mention that the entire state's behind and they're trying to get that fixed with personnel and whatnot, but so this would just be recognition that this is a 50-50 grant, and it goes to, basically my understanding goes to salary and benefits for the emergency manager, and so you'll obviously have the 50% covered, but yeah, anyway, so that's all that is, just to make sure that you're aware that it's a 50-50 grant. And
So do you have any idea how much it is, or?
it's I think this 2023,
It was 15 something.
15 something, yeah. So I think the 2022 was a little higher, but I think that was still, there was some COVID money still tied into that piece of it. So that one was up. Otherwise, it's been in that $15,000 range, it looks like. And they're not sure. Of course, it's FEMA dollars, so they don't know what the next, they haven't even put out the information for 2024 yet. So we'll see what comes of that, but.
So this says expiration 6/30/25. is this an annual? The expiration date, does it mean you have to spend it by then?
Well, my assumption is it's already spent, like they're that far behind, it's
Yeah,
likely
this is a grant
Yeah.
for 23.
2023,
The
yeah,
term-
so,
Term says it still goes to 25.
yeah. I'm assuming it'll get put, I think with the 2022, they put it in the correct line item for that grant funding for those dollars.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe somebody
It's-
smarter in the room about that
it's-
could tell me, but
Chad, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's FEMA essentially saying if you spend $15,000 on an emergency manager, we'll spend $15,000 on one because we're requiring you to have it.
right,
So that 15,000 we will receive by 6/25 is money we spent in 23. We're just recapturing it.
Okay.
yeah. And like I said, the 2022, I think that one said it expired in 24 and we just got it a couple weeks ago, so,
That means you'll
Yeah.
get paid on the 25th or thereafter shortly.
yeah, so. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's all that is.
Well, no, I'm sure the
Maybe.
state's been sitting on that for a year, so.
Yep.
You need a motion to approve that?
That's my assumption.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
Perfect, thank you.
Highway,
I am looking for approval to accept the proposal for, this is wetland delineation. I'll do this one first, wetland delineation report for 4 culverts. Two of them are on County Road 35, just south of 27, and 2 of them are on County Road 14. I got prices from a few different companies, so this is the lowest one.
I'd have to open that thing up. Can you say who you're awarding that to?
Anderson Engineering for $5,948.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
motion and second, any more discussion on the wetland delineation? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and these other 2 are for construction engineering services, so inspection, for Widseth on the TH55 culvert replacement. And the County Road 34 project, so the Pine Ridge Park Road. I just need help with the inspection on these ones, especially because if we have more than one project going at the same time, I just can't be at both of them or more than 2 at the same time, so. Both of them are with Widseth. The one on TH55, the total is $79,465. And it's broke up by construction staking, administration, and construction observation. So they'd have a person on site all the time.
And which one's that one for?
State Highway 55, the Mistinka crossing, East Wendell.
Got a question, Aaron. Thinking back at some of the outcomes that relate to Widseth and County Road 10, is it
No.
not the best choice of vendor?
That's WSB.
No.
Winseth was in charge of the box culvert.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll rephrase my question. Is that the best choice of vendor?
I believe so. Matt, do you have input on that?
Yeah, Winseth was the person that designed both of these projects. So they're gonna be the most knowledgeable about the project when they're out there. That makes sense to go with them. Also, the cost for both of them are 75,000, I think, for.
75 to 80.
Yeah. And typically the construction engineering is about 8% of the total construction contract. You know, County Road 34 is just under that 8% from Highway 55, it's closer to like 5% or so, I'd say. So the numbers are right there for us and sure. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on it then.
Different in the county, they're quite often, even back. There's a recommendation from the highway committee, I'll make that.
We have a motion, we have a second,
I'll second it.
motion and second, any more discussion?
Was that for both of them or just the 55 one?
For both.
Okay.
Being it was put together in the bill. Measure the estimate.
Well, I mean, there's two agreements, two proposals, but
Stick with my motion.
Okay.
Go with it.
Second.
Yeah, I second it.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Chad?
That'll be short.
Okay, what's he got on it first? Single audit. I'm not sure what Carl sent you. Did he send you the thing from the Minnesota State Auditor about our
The agreement, what the.
agreement with the state auditors for 12/31/24 audit? It's a standard can, we sign it every year. Just need the board chair's signature and my signature on that if you so approve. Just an entrance letter saying that we'll do this and Connie will do that and blah, blah, blah. It's the same as the last umpteen years.
Do they generally audit the same accounts, or they pick and choose, or is it everything? Or is there a difference from year to year?
In the actual audit,
Yeah,
yeah, there'll be a difference from year to year.
but it's not really identified here.
No, they'll
You don't
identify
really know.
what things they're gonna audit once we get into it. A lot of it depends on how much federal funding you have. So if we meet the requirement for what's called a single audit, if we have over $750,000 in federal funds, that requires what's called a single audit, so they audit 40%, I believe it is, of whatever program qualifies. So they'll take your programs or your funds that you receive from federal dollars, and then they'll audit that program. Let's say we had an event in FEMA, we had a bunch of money from FEMA, they would audit that. Let's say that, you know, the county got a bunch of money from the federal government for X. They'll audit whatever that is. Yeah. As far as other things that they audit, you know, it's kind of the same in the general audit, but they'll do departmental audits. So any office that takes in cash, the recorder, the assessor, the recycling center, any of those, we'll pick and choose and rotate. And this year we'll decide it's gonna be, you know, it'll be the recycling center that they'll go through all the audit procedures and say, taking in cash, that's your system, blah, 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 blah. Yep. If we can avoid single audits, that's great, because that's time consuming. Costs more money.
You need a motion to approve the letter.
I would prefer it, and that states that they're actually performing the audit for.
Make that motion. Okay.
Second. Have a motion and a second for the state auditor for the audit. Any more discussion?
It standard hourly rate change at all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I seen it, not Charlie. Was the second one.
Hmm?
I seen there was a different name, it wasn't Charlie for the second one.
Yeah, we'll see.
That'll slow us down a little bit.
It'll be Charlie.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Then the next thing I have is Carl brought over, fire abatement. I don't know if he gave you anything on that. If there was a fire, a structure fire on. July 6th, 2024. And this is in. You know, Blake, yep. For a parcel ID number. Anyways, yeah, it's in the city of Elk Lake. So. What would happen with this, according to our policy, is that 2024 tax is based on the value of the structure or the property as of 1/2 or 1/1/2023. So it would not have any effect on the taxes for payable year 2024. Because of the fact that we are now into 25 and we have 24's values done for payable year taxes in 25. There will be a reduction in value after taxes are calculated of $44,000. And then we will abate that dollar amount of tax based on $44,000 for this property. Property ID number is 19-0506-000. And if you ask me how much $44,000 worth of taxes, I can't answer that because I haven't calculated it. It's not gonna be very much.
And is that just the county's portion of tax then, or?
No, we will
School,
abate-
City.
We will
everybody?
pay all jurisdictions in which that property pays property taxes to, so it'll be county, city, and school. Yep.
So that, is that just down the street here?
I don't know.
That's fine.
It is at 313 9th Avenue Southeast. So. The value was $174,800. The new value would be $130,800. The reduction of 44,000 relates to the fact that that structure sat not having damage for basically 6 months or half the year. In total, there was a reduction of $88,000 of value, but half the year it was, didn't have a fire abatement, the other half it will, so it's 44,000 half the year.
I will make a motion to approve the fire abatement on that parcel number as presented.
Did you get it? 19-0506
19
0506 000.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for this fire abatement, for taxes on this fire abatement. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
While you're here, last meeting, there was a question about cleaning.
Yep, it's on my desk. I'm gonna ask Hillary about it. I told him.
Okay.
Carl came over and talked to me about it, so I'll get information on that.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, anything for me?
I sent you an email, pull the MRC mileage off of my expenses. They were in the warrants. I shouldn't have had mileage on that one.
What was it, like $8.50 or something?
Okay, so okay, I'll look at the email when I get back.
If you have any questions on it?
Okay, I just need a signature.
I redirected it. I redirected it.
Oh, did you?
Standing on the table.
Oh. Well, that's. You had some. Hopefully the camera was turned on when you were doing that, so I can go back and watch it.
So I got two things. The first one is our annual AIS billboard contract that we have with Newman. They do that billboard on the interstate exit there. We partner with a couple other counties to go for it. The price is down a decent bit, which is surprising than from years past, so that was nice, and it runs from May to the end of August. So it's about $2,500 for the 4 months worth that we split with. With Otter Tail. I think just that, yeah. So I just figured you guys should have FYI, and I'll have Doyle sign it too. If you guys are so moved to do that contract that we have been doing, we'll use that AIS money that we get from the state to pay for it, so. It's a deal we do every year.
So,
Second.
We have motion and second, any more discussion on the annual AIS billboard contract? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thanks, guys. And then this other deal that I had Carl send you is a letter of support for a guy in Otter Tail who runs their demo and solid waste. He helps with all that kind of stuff. So the state has been pushing for a couple of years now to start requiring demo landfills to be lined and then collect leachate. Those are very, very expensive endeavors. So a lot of the surrounding landfills around us have been saying, well, if they do that, we'll probably shut down. So they won't be open no more. And once they reach capacity, they'll just quit. So then it means for us is residents here have to go farther and farther away to bring their demo landfill to the landfill, any of that stuff. So even say like Ingebretson, he said that's $1 million plus, $2 million to line that thing and put in a collection system. So everybody around the state's kind of been talking about it, and a couple months ago, I attended a meeting in Fergus with Douglas, Stevens, Travers, and then a bunch of folks from up in the northwest part of the state. So what the people in the northwest part of the state did is the state offers, it's called a planning grant, where they say, okay, we have this issue, it's on multiple county-wide, we're all gonna pitch in money to do a study on where this waste goes, how this potential thing would impact everybody. So what they did is called a hub and spoke. So it's basically, think of it like a wheel. You have in the middle is the big hub. Everybody around are little spokes, and they send everything to the main place. You've collected at site A, and everybody then hauls to this central location. So the Northwest, I think it's 9 counties did it. And they did a big study that's like 150 pages long and cost them a decent bit of money. So what Otter Tail said is, hey, we're probably gonna have to do a similar study. Do you want to be a part of this? So last a week and a half or so, they've kind of been pitching the counties around. Stevens County just approved theirs this morning, or will be, it sounded like when I talked to Bill, that they are gonna be a part of the study as well. And he said, hey, being as you guys don't have a demo landfill, don't have any landfill at all your stuff gets hauled somewhere. It would be a bad idea for you guys to probably jump in on this, considering the expense is quite low. So the cost for each county is based on your population. Since we have such low population, our cost is pretty low. Right now it's capped out about $1,500 is what it caps us out to be a part of this $300,000 planning grant. And by doing the planning grant, we aren't like locked into having to do anything. It's just to do the study, to do the planning and see what options are. So before I had Doyle sign or anybody sign, I just wanted all of you to know what's up and what we're doing. And then if you guys wanted to sign on, then I'll have Doyle sign it. And if you guys don't want to, then we won't. But it is gonna be a thing and an issue coming down the road here. So I would recommend signing it for minimal capital. You're pretty good cut, considering Otter Tail is gonna do basically all the heavy lifting. And all staff here is gonna have to do is attend meetings occasionally, and then they need a letter of support or a letter of whatever to do that. So
So this will probably be done in Otter Tail County, or,
yeah, Otter Tail is gonna do all the paperwork, all the admin. all
but I
that.
mean, the landfill part of it.
There is a handful of landfills in the area. Otter Tail has one, Fergus has one, Stevens County has theirs. So they're basically gonna look at a whole pile of them and see if any of them could be retrofitted with the liner, or if they could stay profitable with them. Cause you know, if you put $1 million, $2 million in, now the cost per ton for demo goes through the roof. Or right now, you know, we get a pretty good deal that none of the landfills are really charging out of county rates, so, or charging very little out of county rate extra, so. Get a pretty good deal, so we're
City
hoping.
of Fergus does.
Yeah, they do. But, and theirs is probably one of the newer ones that they got, and they were talked about that they would go to then having a more expensive rate, and they probably could stay open, since they've kind of been lining their cell, or did line their last cell, but sounds like where we send most of ours to Stevens County, he probably won't be open if they did that, or that piece of his business wouldn't be open.
Well, and just to be clear, Greg, you and I talked in your office and you were sitting there at the time. The permit by rules, you know, the demolition
They are
facilities that are
going-
15,000 cubic yards or less,
They're gonna go,
that is done,
yeah, they're
right?
not,
Yeah,
Is
that's,
that,
the state doesn't want those anymore because of the groundwater issues.
right,
Not lining them with enough clay or liner or something to keep the water from mixing with whatever you buried.
right. A lot of people put them in marginal ground versus clay.
Yeah.
You know, there's some clay here and there, but it could be in gravel pits and all kinds of stuff. They want to shut that off.
So they're not really allowing you to do that anymore.
Right, so how about the farms? I mean,
There's-
building sites,
There's some language in there for exceptions, but you gotta meet. Still have to meet some of the requirements.
okay?
Gonna be an issue coming here, so. That's why I wanted to kind of get ahead of it and try and be part of this planning grant, but. Up to the 5 of you.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair. To get involved with the planning grant and the price tag of $1,500 for now.
Second,
Any more discussion?
I got one question, so.
Yeah.
So when it comes time to put this liner in somewhere, then does that cost split up between the county?
Right now, no. Because we have no contract with anybody that says we're paying a portion of X, Y, or Z. So nope,
This
it's on the,
But
this
if
is
they-
just the plan.
Right,
If,
right, but
if they did put a liner, say Stevens County went and put a liner in, it would be all on Ingebretson or Stevens County.
well, we don't know that either.
We don't know that quite yet
This
either
is
unless
not
we sign
committing
it.
us to any future.
Correct.
charge.
No, it doesn't permit us to.
That's, I'm just saying that in the future,
There's potential if we, sign a contract saying we will send our demo or all our demo that way, or that's
Yeah.
what we do, but right now, no.
well,
now
we
there's
don't have
no
much of a
cost.
choice anyway,
Not really.
if you can't permit by rule anymore.
Yeah, and the whole deal with the letter is basically saying, hey, by doing the letter, you are eligible to be part of the study.
Mhm.
If you don't do the letter, then you're kind of out, and then when they do the whole planning, now all of a sudden the cost could get quite a lot more,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
It's not like that. Doyle, I'm gonna leave these with Ashley for you to sign.
Okay. I can sign it right now.
No matter me.
Won't take too long, will it?
No, I don't know. I'm so fast, yeah. So now when you just initial,
How long does it take to sign?
I don't know. We're gonna look at that backside too. 3 lines there, so I'm gonna take that outside.
That initial was the hard part, right?
Yeah.
You did initial the sign, and sign that you initialed.
Then you can print your name and sign your name, and then the date is the other piece, the 18th. There's that one, and this one you just sign under, right above you.
Right above it?
Yep. Perfect, thank you.
That'll be $2.
I'll add your bill, onto my bill.
All right, so, as we transition with Carl's position, going back to the assessor, that'll be happening March 3rd. So we need to kind of flip flop what he's been doing. So he's been full-time coordinator, but getting a percentage of, assessor, pay for that time. So I doubt that we're gonna have anybody starting by March 3rd. So we need to, figure out how we're gonna compensate him for doing coordinator duties. He figured that as of March 3rd, when he goes back to the assessor, the amount of duties he'll be doing would be basically like clerking, getting things ready for board. He thought it'd be about 30%. So if we did it the same as we have done in the past with his assessor, it'd be 30% of his current coordinator wage, so he'd be getting $15.29 on top of his assessor wage. And that is to fulfill, if it's the month of March, and then if there's any training of the coordinator that he has to do. So it's a temporary, obviously, amount, but it's compensated for him doing those coordinator duties while he's doing a full-time assessor. So it'd be that, and then also, him going back to the assessor, the personnel committee talked about keeping his anniversary date, which was November 12th. And then his assessor, he didn't obviously get his step, so he'd get his step as of November 12th, his anniversary date would stay the same. So as the assessor, he'd go to a step 10 at 4902. And then he'd get that 30%, which is the 1529, while he's doing the coordinator duties in the meantime. And then, of course, that will be temporary, depending on how much training is needed. And when the individual can start. I would just be looking for a motion for that.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second, any more discussion on it? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Carried.
The other thing that Carl just wanted me to bring up is that this is what's gonna be going in the newspaper. They kind of designed a little bit more color for us. And so that we're gonna do a half page in the newspaper. And so by doing a half a page, we also get a free listing in the Grant County Lifestyle magazine. And that is for free by doing a half a page. So Carl decided to do that, so it'd be more exposure. This is what you'll see half page in the newspaper, which I think turned out really nice. So, which indicates all of our locations. If everyone's, whoever's looking for us, so. He just wanted me to bring that up too. And that's all I have.
Or we got the Octa Trail resolution.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
And then the opioid contract they got with Horizon Public Health, they got. Trying to remember, $11,000, something like that.
11,856.
And that's over the 5,000, 5,000, so that committee can't technically do that, it's gotta be approved here.
So we need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So 30%, so a third of his salary. So they're gonna pay about 30% of the. His time will be there, so that's where the 15.
Water, we got any buildings down there, they want a demo, the city.
You got a little here?
Houses better.
Yeah, because it's based on 30%.
Not that I had, so it's 49, 45.
Yeah. Getting to that point, we're gonna start. That's great.
Down below, right below the coffee pot.
I got a house.
The demo. Yep. Like. Greg, give me some feedback on some of those permit rules that these farmers can do in these building sites out there, like, oh. Do they gotta apply, like, for permit or a fire department to do like a control burner?
I'm sure they will on that end, but that's how it's gonna be done.
Well, but that's still allowed.
You know, I think as long as you don't have any hazardous waste, you probably might have to.
Break the shingles off the sofa and take care of it, right?
Oh, they'll burn. I bet they will. I've seen them burn before.
They burn on it too.
So when somebody's house catch fire, then what do you do?
That's usually a different game, but that is a valid point because those things, the smoke and the heat generated by shingles, you're gonna control practice burn. You don't get to experience that. You know what I mean? It's like
The toxicity.
yeah, or even just the whole volume of smoke.
I'm waiting for your paragraph.
What don't burn like shingles. So, yeah, that's. Yeah,
They know about
and I don't know.
the town allows.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you can still, there is.
At this
latitude
point,
in
yeah.
that. Work with the fire department, and they will control burn
Yeah.
and say there's shingles on the road, and you make a valid attempt to rake the shingles off the roof and go take them to the landfill. So you got a receipt of that,
Right.
right? Cover
Yeah.
your butt, and then you can move forward from there. And control burn on stuff.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it. But it's getting harder. I mean, I bet you over the years, for a while there, I was, you know, when a lot of the farmsteads were getting torn down. I was probably either myself, it was in Lake Shore, or Jim was doing at least 1 year, 1 or 2. You know, permit by rules, burying barns.
Right, but it's, you only pay 15,000 cubic yards or less.
Yeah, there was a limit, but
Yep.
then they just charge you based on,
65 cents a
yeah,
yard.
yeah, we'd always tell everybody that it's not very. Don't tell them they're involved.
You gotta be, and there's a lot of ways, you know what I mean, everybody thinks there's a lot there, but, you know, when you crush it up into a ball.
Yeah.
2 years ago when I tore them silos down, you know.
Yeah.
Riley stuck in cement. It cost me, I had 3 silos. It cost me $2,400 to get it tore down and hauled out. The whole shebang. I know,
I got, at our place, we got
11 loads.
we got 3 stave silos and then 1 harvester at our place, and I've been kind of waiting for steel prices to come back up, because I think there's enough of them guys out there that'll take the steel away, and then you don't pay a nickel. They'll salvage the steel. in exchange. No, on a harvester, a new harvester site, it's all metal.
Somebody might wanna rent that from you.
Yeah, I
never know.
Yeah, I'm just,
But haylage in.
but you know, that the help is, you know, you buy that farm pack or whatever, you have some insurance policy, because it's a farm, and those ground silos cost a lot of money to insure. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, there's liability in them.
Took them 20 minutes to take all 3 of them.
Really? You have any buildings around them, or?
Just the barn that it fell in.
Oh, okay, because we got, every one of ours is butting up to a structure that's still, we still use. You know, we got the dairy barn and then the bull shed.
But they got a big wall. They swing it, it all falls in.
Yeah, right,
The worst part is getting the fans out of there.
yeah,
Then they got it down so the tobacco could use it.
yeah,
That's perfect, cause there's no rebar in any of it, it crushes beautifully.
Yeah.
Beautifully.
Even the foundation, that didn't have no steel in it either.
not really.
Well, you kinda gotta let the people know this kind of stuff.
Well, it's not practical.
It just, it ain't, within the corporate limits of a town, you can't, there's, you know, some type of.
And so if we widened it out there.
But we get rid of a lot of stuff in this town, there's a couple houses that need to go yet, but other than that, the rest of them are habitable. See, these people, you know, something, if you go stand on top of something, we say, there's nobody in them buildings in Ashby, you get it cold and shifting and
Yeah.
things like that, you know, you get a fire there and it'll burn the whole block down before you get it out. There's steel on the roofs and there's steel in the walls and there's, you know what I mean? You won't get,
Yeah.
it's trouble, is what it is. Gotta stay on top of it. It's darn right it is. Like the Mohegan building, we got rid of that one.
Yeah.
Made that disappear. And that had 17 chimneys up on the house now. Meters were upstairs, you know, all the house knob wire that went through the building and everything.
Yeah, that's a major accident.
And then big tall building like that, going like 75 feet in the air. And all that heat, but you know.
Well, the old fire pit and Barrett there, that's a little scary too. The old TWA, Barrett owns it. Elevator owns it now.
Yeah, they put lipstick over the top, a lot of them. You know, made them look like something, but if they're standing there, the whole thing of this, you gotta, you know, throw some heat in there, you know, do some electric and update. They got farming, trees right there. The cap, and, yeah,
That frozen ground, it's like frozen ice.
what's his name, Lake, so,
Thick gas.
so I would guess there's been some updating, you know,
When I
that.
was in there, I was doing the emergency management stuff, and we were talking about doing a drill. That thing is just a crazy maze inside that. There's buildings inside buildings inside buildings.
Yep.
They'll probably get hurt.
Crazy.
It was like a trailer, and it was on the outside, so you put your left turn and put it all standing on the street.
Pastor played yesterday in Toronto.
Go in and fight it.
Yeah.
And you don't know where the hell you are. 'Cause it's
You know, they said it was.
They're lighting in there.
It ain't worth a shit. There's a lot of,
You come in.
a lot of cavities and abandoned parts in interior buildings that got covered up.
Through all the fuel.
It's scary.
And luckily the momentum took the fuselage out of there, but it flipped it upside.
So what's it take to get the community center in Herman?
What's it take to get it?
Yeah, I mean, to rent it.
Yeah.
Call the-
Oh, the city office? Okay,
Or not?
all right, because on Thursday, I'm gonna meet with, Jim Backman. He's gonna come over to, Wheaton and sit down with Troy and me, and I don't know if their engineer, highway engineer will be there, but we're just gonna try to start laying out some thoughts that he has. I'm just kind of trying to be an arbitrator, everybody come into a room and be civil and nice. I'm out. So I'll get him done, and then I think after we maybe get some resolution with him, then I'll try to rent the room there in the community building and get all the guys on the system that are interested, and then we'll sit down and throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. Just keep picking away at it, see if we can.
West side.
I'm gonna bring Ruben with, cause
That's probably.
he's got that good engineering experience too, and I think he
get a little frustrated with it.
trying to spread out Ruben's stuff, you know. Ruben's, actually farms. I think he just has a better rapport with that kind of shit, right? So I'm gonna try to get him to be more like me as far as bullshit.
Is there CRP butted up to that? 500 creek?
Everywhere, yes, I mean, it's just a few spots that would get pointed out.
You could get Ashley to come talk to her.
There you go. I'm not real.
Where is that now? You don't have to say it.
Bemont Creek is close by.
Okay.
Where my window?
I was a vote, my vote was a yes on. Yeah.
Is there a window?
What's that?
Window. Is there a window? I mean, it's by her.
Yes,
It's close to, you know.
he can't, no, yeah,
Traverse
he's
County.
got land that butts up to the headwaters.
It's close.
In Stevens County.
Well, between 12 mile and 5 mile, if it's dry this summer, you know, it'd be nice to do some planning over there,
Yeah,
get something done.
well,
Well,
and
part of it's cleaned out because neighbors got one of those ditches, the rotary ditch, I know you pull it, shoots it. Whenever it's dry, they go in and keep it cleaned out.
They do.
That's why you gotta, you know, there's a culvert here, and a culvert there, and they set their thing and then go.
Really? It's like a wheel?
Yep.
he's kind of he's in a good, I mean, I bet he hasn't done it for a long time, but there are certain stretches where you get 90s going under a culvert, and then the shit swirls, and then it entrains all this dirt, and then it moves about 100 yards and drops it. And then we got another spot where there's a big blow up coming down a hill. So there's just these spots that are problematic that I think if we can get them cleaned out, it's a good short-term solution, but you know, like I've told you before, is really that it'd be nice if we could get Boys de Sioux to have a master plan that says, all right, here's the elevations, here's the floodplain that we're gonna try to protect permanently. And every time this thing starts to not convey water, no more permits. You just, Boys de Sioux's got the green light from whether it's Army Corps or USDA, you just go in and clean the ground. and be done with it. Right? And I think that's a doable option. That's why I wanna get a little bit kind of slid in there. Cause it's,
I was at the drainage conference, you know, and Eric was.
Yeah.
And the Bowser and DNR, like, we need to be friends, it was in big letters. We all need to be friends. You know, where this is at. Why didn't you talk about that 10 years ago?
well, I know, but that's,
Tom Giles is up on the stage, kind of giving his.
if I was betting man, I'd say he's gonna replace Jasky.
Probably.
You'll be a little careful.
I've known Tom a long time. He's a good guy.
Actually.
He is, honest to God, he is.
He is.
He ain't just a frickin' tree hugging ding dong. He gets the other side, right? He knows how to bring everybody together.
Rallying the troops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he knows there's always these, I know when we were going through this buffer law stuff, they were cracking the whip on us, cause, you know, we were more stringent than the state and
Right.
him and I had a lot of good conversation. Just leave us the hell alone. We got a good thing going here. Bring down somebody else, right? We got it. It's like,
Well, that's why Emily was here too.
yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good
I don't
thing.
need this thing.
You like maybe?
Absolutely.
Can't give any cards, then all their video, and then we'll hear. Which is sort of about blind game.
Yeah, it's always something.
They must have been around here taking pictures today.
Well, you go in.
That's here.
I don't know where it's at. Some place where it's cold.
That's here.
Dead silent. Yeah. Anybody driving anything.
The thing is not much wind.
Then the veterans get mad if somebody just shows up and they just. Oh, yeah, yeah, with the jackpot, I have been put in and everything. That's a good.
They're supposed to do this, huh?
You better not win. Yeah. If you're not a regular.
50 years ago, I was 18, and I was.
You get the,
We've been doing it like.
how is your thing to work now?
It was like 4 years old.
I think technical difficulties.
We were happy about, you know.
I had a posting, so I have a post link, but then there was a link
I read that.
that sent out to everybody and it seems to be
You know, they
different
have all
ones.
come on.
So I just sent out a.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Is anybody on him?
Yeah. So I know that it works.
Then say, go get her. Get that, yeah. He said, you're gonna get this film by the.
You would want me to.
You're comfortable.
They're blue and Belton.
Purple.
Next time, I'll do the same thing. If I need to.
But I will say that. the
Well,
ones that actually-
15 in a hole yet, it says.
They're pretty funny though. You know, they were young ones, little gamblers, you know. They're pretty good.
It's
I don't want them,
a bit chilly, but it's dry.
Dry cool.
But it's a dry.
You know, the county, Grand County, it was like 1 million, but it's actually 2 million.
I don't know, I think 80 or 80 should be the same, but
That's kind of like only one, they only got, well, we're out.
Rate is in Mexico. And
They're not.
We want to be in Mexico.
You can have a seat here at the top.
In fact, it's considerably warmer there.
Hi,
howdy.
how are you guys?
Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
I'd like it if it was a little colder.
Well, I thought I'd bring my coffee and otherwise it was gonna be iced coffee.
Well, before we get started, well, how about we do introductions? If commissioners wanna go down the line?
Johnson.
I'm on it. I can watch them. Chad, we can hear you.
Sorry, I was talking to the girls in my office. I'm off now.
All back up, District 3, which would represent Grant County, Elk, and Land Township.
Correct. Troy Johnson, Barrett, Elbow Lake, Sanford, Erdahl, and Dean Township.
Doyle Spear, Western Grant County.
Pretty much.
In the township, Dwight Wallendy, on material, Pelican Lake.
Bill Valley, District 4, City of Lake.
Ashley Wilkinson, HR. We have some of our strategic planning committee members here.
Chuck Ringo, along from Environmental Services. Yep.
Hey, Bartle,
All right, well, we'll get started. If you want to start it off with the presentation question, you can start with those.
Okay, the first question is, tell us what county government means to me. County government, you know, to put the actions and the goals of the commissioners into place. You know, extend the help and the insight of various aspects of the county out to the public, the cities, townships. You know, kind of be an interactive advocate for, you know, the commissioners. You know, you are the elected officials of the county to make, you know, informed decisions on all the aspects of the county. I think, you know, extending out to the taxpayers and the citizens, you know, various aspects of what the county does, I think is a huge thing, just to be. A lot of people, well, some people also don't care, but, you know, there's a lot more to county government than a lot of just regular people think, you know, and to get some of that information out to people, you know, some people are gonna love you, some people aren't, and, you know, getting that out to the citizens and taxpayers is good. But there's many levels of counties. There's, you know, all of your departments and, you know, your law enforcement, your highway department. You know, there's a lot to county government. Keep going. Okay. What challenges do you think Grant County might face in the next few years? How will your skills and experience enable you to help the county successfully meet them? Well, I guess it would depend on, you know, what are the county's goals? Is it population? Grant County's, you know, one of the least populated counties in the state of Minnesota. Is that something that's important to the commission? You know, do we want to look at helping cities, you know, help them create more housing? Funding, you know, what various aspects of funding are out there, state, federal, for initiatives that the commissioners choose. You know, there's more money out there than a lot of people think, you know, and it's finding it, going after it. Some, you know, helping cities go through projects. I've been, you know, through projects with, you know, the different cities I've worked with, and, you know, you know, when you're a new clerk in a city, you know, that can be very overwhelming, you know, to start those projects, you know, so helping the county and the cities and the townships look at funding possibilities. Budgets, budgets are huge, you know. You are and you have the task of creating budgets that are by using, you know, taxpayer money. You know, what's in the best interest of using that money. And again, you know, information out to the county citizens so that you know, maybe they have a better understanding of what is going on and not just creating issues, maybe, you know, a better understanding of even, you know, city functions and county functions. I think that's huge for citizens and taxpayers. If selected to this position, what would be included in your transition plan as the new county coordinator? 30 days, 90 days. I guess I would start by looking at some of the history, you know, looking into past financials, past budgets, actions, employees, departments, you know, what's changed? You know, what are the goals going forward? You know, gathering some of that information. You know, nothing happens overnight, and, you know, you learn as you go at some things. Like I said, being, you can always reach out to peers. There's a lot of people that know things. If I don't know something, I'm gonna reach out and figure it out. There's lots of people, other counties, what are they doing? That may be good, bad, can some of those things come into play? Can we tweak it a little and make it work better? And again, I always come back to the interactions with the cities and townships. I think of it as more of a county community, it is a small populated county, let's be a community about it.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll just get into the rest of the questions, and at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to ask us some questions.
Okay.
So what do you consider to be the significant aspect of building a positive work environment? As the county coordinator, what steps would you take to facilitate this outcome?
It would come from, what do the commissioners want? What do they want to see? Creating I get along with many people, and you're always gonna have goods and bads out of every relationship, but talking things through and having, open communication is huge.
What factors do you think leads to a successful organizational change, and what factors hinder the process? Give us an example.
Just, can you repeat that?
Sure. What factors do you think leads to a successful organizational change, and what factors hinder the process?
Well, people, opinions, they're in order to fully function and move forward, you have to come sometimes to a compromise, and sometimes, you're not going to, and, you either have to figure out a different way to move forward, or just adjust maybe the aspect of what you're looking at.
So this is a key management position within the county, and it is critical that the successful candidate be able to work well with the public and the county board. Comment on your skills which would enable you to succeed in this area.
I have worked in various capacities in my life, being a veterinary technician starting out in life. You do care and compassion. I've worked as a cook, in various aspects of coming to the area, and you learn a lot of you learn communication and people. And I in the cities that I've been in, you learn everybody has a different personality. You have to learn how to work with everybody in each position. And sometimes you have to sit back and just take what they have to say, and after that, you move on to a solution to the problem. I'm in working in both my cities, and when I started in the city of Dalton 6 years ago, it was kind of a mess. So we looked at how to move forward, how to finance some things, what are the best aspects of their rates and their budget and their tax levy. It was all behind, it wasn't keeping up with the times. And, you have to, those are hard things to tell a city council or your taxpayers, because you have things that need to be done and paid, and infrastructure that needs to be upgraded. And, some of those decisions, for commissions or councils, hard, but with the right information, it makes it easier to move on and accept and get those projects done.
So this is a scenario question. The county board is trying to decide on a controversial topic. You have very strong personal feelings on the subject. You are asked by the board to prepare a summary for the board members on the pros and cons for them to make a decision at their next meeting. Discuss your process and outcome.
Say that once more.
Yep. The county board is trying to decide on a controversial topic. You have very strong personal feelings on the subject. You are asked by the board to prepare a summary for the board members on the pros and cons for them to make a decision at their next meeting. Discuss your process and outcome.
Well, I guess my personal opinion wouldn't matter, you know, it is up to each commissioner to decide. I would gather the information on the pros and cons and present it to each commissioner for discussion. And you kind of move on from there out of each aspect of the problem.
If you are asked to take the lead in a new program or project and there is not buy-in from the other department heads, how will you get them on board?
If it's a new program, you know, to have the knowledge exactly what the program is. If a department, or if the commissioners, you know, they have to see the ultimate goal. If a department isn't on board with it, you know, why? You know, get to the bottom of why. And maybe throughout the conversation with the department, we can, you know, figure it out where the department would be on board.
What do you feel the county coordinator's role should be with the county board?
Well, I think I could, the coordinator position, there's many aspects. There's probably things that, you know, I could provide, you know, if we need to pull from departments, maybe a few things, you know, to make the position, you know, I can reach out, to cities, counties, you know, the things that the commissioners would want me to look into. Can I help you in this area? Can I help you in that area? You know, there's a wide variety of things that I think I would be helpful in helping you.
The next part of the question is, what about during the discussion of a controversial subject at the county board meeting? What would your role be?
It would be to, you know, if there's controversy, there's always a solution. You know, what's the knowledge around the situation? Maybe there's an aspect of it that one person doesn't know, that is easily accessible and to explain, you know, the whole situation. And normally there is always a, solution to the problem. It's just talking it out and working through it.
As the county coordinator, you have 5 elected officials as your boss. How will you balance their varying needs and priorities?
Well, every person is different. You know, you all have your districts that you cover, your townships that you cover. You know, we have to balance, you know, what needs to be done now, what's in 10 years, you know, there's a balance to everybody's needs. And I think that's a simple thing to communicate.
Leadership ability is vital to the success of this position. Please describe what leadership means to you, how you have provided it in your past jobs, and your experience in organizing or being part of a team.
I have volunteered in many things in my life. You know, providing, as a city clerk, you provide leadership to your city councils by giving them the knowledge to make the decisions for the betterment of the cities. You know, just being a strong advocate for the county's goals you know, visiting with people. What are other people thinking, you know? Leadership is, you know, it's a bigger aspect it's a big aspect in life, you know, how do you help, other departments, you know, make decisions and go through budgets and, you know, it's just being a strong communicator and, you know, helping people out.
How will you build rapport with your fellow department heads?
Well, I think it would take, you know, visiting with them, you know, what are their goals? What do they see? You know, what's going good, what's going bad? You know, let's, you know, work on the good and the bad. But it's through strong communication and learning, you know, what needs they have, you know, where can we maybe cut back on some things or, you know, what aspects of each department, is in need of, what, and just communicating that.
So the board have additional questions that they'd like to ask?
Yes.
Do you envision technology and now we hear a lot about artificial intelligence? What's your vision how that will impact Grant County and county coordinator's position?
I think all aspects of technology need to be looked at. You know, and the aspects of AI and other things, you know, you have to take a deeper look at some of those things and is it right for the county? Is it not? You know, what have other counties used it? You know, has it worked? Is it dangerous? Is it, you know, there would be a lot I would want to look into, you know, before, you know, I would express, you know, something to the commission as you would go forward.
Any other questions?
I got one for you.
Sure.
Okay, so you've worked with, city council,
Yep.
so you know how that goes.
I do.
There's, you had personalities on city council and, you know, you basically have to deal with that.
Mhm.
And I think you've done a pretty good job of doing that from what I've heard in Dalton and
Thank you.
Wendell. So, you know, you know, you gotta work with city councilmen and the public to ask you questions and so you know how all that goes, right? Yeah. So,
And sometimes those questions are yelled at you and sometimes they're not.
right,
Yeah.
right. So, and in Grand County, of course, you're gonna be dealing with, you know, employees and
Mhm.
they all have their thoughts and desires, I guess. And so, I guess what I'm saying, it's not the easiest job in the world, this job.
The ultimate, you know, working with all the departments, you know, it's not gonna be easy, but the ultimate goal is how do we move the county forward? You know, how do we sustain, your wishes, you know, how do we keep moving forward? And I think that's a huge aspect of,
I got a question, Mr. Chair. Have you been working with the HRA some for some of your cities like the city of Wendell? On maybe some housing grants and things like that, you know, that. And are you familiar with the grant processes and, you know, if you can touch on some of that, that'd be good.
I came in, to Wendell, being a clerk right as they were finishing up their water tower project. In the city of Dalton, I came in on, the end of a sewer project. That was an absolute disaster. And then, you know, we kind of got over that and we went into a water tower treatment plant expansion, in the city of Dalton. And after this, now all of their infrastructure will be done. It'll be, all their water lines, sewer lines. But as far as this project, going for funding for these things, there's many aspects of it. I mean, you have your PFA, you have financial advisors, you have USDA, you have small cities, you have all these things. Well, in the end, the package that the city of Dalton received, I believe it was a $1.3 million project. And the package from grant versus loan, it was huge. You know, the loan amount on that was 400,000. You know, that's a pretty good package that you look for, you know, in a project like that in a small town. I have gone into other cities, more in Otter Tail County, to help them if they've lost their clerk, to get them up to speed, and help them with the software and the processes of cities. I have gone into another town, when they were starting a project to help, get them started and going, you know, engineering and contracts and all that stuff. There's, as far as the Wendell housing, yes, I have reached out to HRA of the county. Not that I have found a roadblock in housing in the state of Minnesota. It's very, very difficult. There's lots of red tape. There's lots of, it's a process. However, when we had the community input meeting in Wendell, the citizens wanted to see this moving forward. You know, how can we move forward with housing in Wendell? Well, so now we're looking at, I've had some meetings with the Impact Fund, with the Minnesota Housing. And, you know, we're going forward. We might take a little different avenue, but that's still to come. But yes, I have dealt with any aspects of funding.
Any other questions? All right, you have any questions for us?
I guess, what do the commissioners see, as this position? I mean, what do you guys want to see? What aspects do you want this position to look into to start with? I mean, what are you looking for, a liaison, like, you know, to help with what the decisions that you make? I'm just curious what you guys think the position should be.
I guess for me, I've been here for starting my 9th year and we've only had a coordinator the past 6 months, you know, that was actually going down and helping with a lot of different things that probably should have been done a long time ago.
Mhm.
And it's just, you know, it's good to have somebody that, you know, helps plan stuff and lines, you know, get stuff ready for meetings, and it's kind of hard to, you know, say because we haven't really had one, but I think it's the direction we need to go in.
I do, I think your role probably is, you know, as they get into it, it evolves, but I guess keeping the board informed and organized on things.
And that's what I do, you know, for councils, you know, it's keeping them informed, and it's also, you know, what questions do you guys have, you know, let's get those answered prior to making a decision, you know. So
That's
yes.
very important. So,
I think one thing that's important, well, say it's new, but it is the coordinator and not an administrator, so making sure that you stay in your lane when it comes to the department heads. And yet you gotta work closely with them. And so that may be an arrow lane. And so I think from our standpoint is to support this position, to focus on the outcomes and our desired effects without turning it, tipping over the cart.
Correct.
I don't know if that
I know,
explains it, but.
I know all about those carts.
Okay. There you go.
Sometimes you nudge them and sometimes you flick them over.
Any other questions?
I don't, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, we're interviewing today, and then, we'll go on from there. I'm still looking on the meeting up or what the plan will be after the interview, but we'll be in contact with you after that.
Sounds good. If anything comes up, if you guys have any more questions, just feel free to reach out.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Stay warm.
For the rest of the day.
Thank you.
The interview was at 11.
Okay.
You chose to come in at 10:45. One more thing.
There's lots of money in bucket money, but it's very. It's got, you gotta have all. That's a must. But you gotta have. You can't go a very big infrastructure project, water and sewer, bonding, and get all that crap out the door. And the cost. Yeah. You're gonna enhance something.
They already got the new.
And I didn't bring it up, but I think, they may be working with EDA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
Yep, I think they were starting, yeah, they, two we get delivered
When the time comes.
this week or next, and then it's just kind
Go
of.
for drafting, yeah.
So if you read through the last AMC updated.
I tried blowing down on some down. Back in, I think it was 76,
Gonna be.
I caught my first go for like the 19th or 20th of February.
Strategy.
I read that twice this morning. Again.
I'm not much, I mean, I get stuff delivered, but.
I'm not willing to go
do it, it's just, not really sure I can find where the hole is.
Not today, you need a good rod.
Jackhammer today. It's here somewhere.
Yeah.
Then you'll blow a chunk of dirt out, it'll be as big as a table.
But it's,
I think
it's,
it's.
it's phenomenal.
I think I can probably just slow wait a bit.
Put that in there.
It'd be better next week. Yeah, it's looking like I might, I don't know if I'm gonna tap any Maple Truth next week, but I think I'm gonna touch a couple box elders.
Just wait, you
Yeah.
Shop online and get it.
It's gotta warm up a little bit though. Or you, it's not flowing yet.
What I've been reading is, once it gets above freezing,
Yeah.
the roots go down to little troughs.
Yeah,
So,
Is he required and it's just.
once it gets, yeah, so
I should probably call him, find out.
come on, well, Sunday, I'll probably take it one, 3 more years.
Oh, yeah.
On this, we just paid the,
But no, from what I'm reading, you know, the frost doesn't have to be on the ground. Once it starts getting above freezing, it'll start falling.
See what he knows, maybe he knows something.
There you go. Where he does
When I lived in town, there was
You're going in there for anything.
I think it was like a Chinese, they call them, well, them things, they run,
Yeah.
but as stinky as they are, I wouldn't even use that.
Yes.
No, I haven't seen anything about
If you went to
those,
the one
so
furnace, you drop your jaw. You
maples,
Yeah.
when box elder is a type of
walk-
maple.
Walls with nothing sitting in it. It's phenomenal.
So maple,
I had to, it's home improvement, so I had to stop my fleet.
walnut,
Well, they do too,
I'll take that.
and so actually black walnut,
Yeah.
they
No, only had 3 ganger.
like $5+ an ounce.
Like you said, there is a ton of sporting
We
stuff.
did, I love that, we did.
Yeah. Yeah,
They do something about it.
And their return process is.
yeah,
really.
Yeah.
they need that.
yeah.
Pistachios.
It's
Calls for that.
We're worried by that. All such they changed since they sold.
Yeah.
It
ain't the same story.
Well, it's more groceries and clothes, but, yeah, we don't got it.
But yeah, apparently I was running low on projects. I like to buy maple syrup.
Movies and stuff to Costco.
Yeah, that's where I've been buying mine too.
It'd definitely be something to do.
It's all $14.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I got
I'm thinking everything I'm wearing right now.
That's never started with Costco. Well, I hadn't until I got my hearing aids there, and then we got membership.
Yeah.
Getting through me under those hearing aids, you know, like, I get one lot there.
Yeah, Costco? Yeah, I gotta go too.
My dad had a membership at Sam's Club and Costco. And I was like, well, how much do you spend at these places? It might be $100 a year. And I was like, so now you're overpaying. You're counting the membership.
Probably only need one. I've never been into Sam's Club.
Yeah, it's kind of like that sucker bet.
Oh, yeah. 200 to make 100. I saved 20.
It's funny, at first I ran into kids.
So you haven't done that before, have you?
I think.
No, I bought a pan and I bought a few other like a set up.
Bring it home.
Yeah.
This bag of chips.
Yeah, you get a candy.
But it looked normal in Costco.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff carried over.
Our granddaughter.
Like to check the sugar content. I probably wouldn't have needed a candy
You've been to
thermometer.
Costco, you know, she goes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like to check the sugar content.
It is
You can
true.
go by
Yeah,
temperature.
yeah.
It's a refractor, you put a little on the lens and then look in there and it tells you.
I put peanut butter there.
And I have one there for
Hand is full of peanut butter because
A lot of the
you
stuff.
gotta stuff your arm in the goddamn thing.
Use it for
Maybe the guy for that one.
I know.
But, no, I.
So no, I've never went there, but Uncle Harold's got it.
told what he said, you told me about your hearing aid. Probably should go up there, she was.
No, we don't have any maple at the place that are
Yeah.
doable, so I got.
But that guy that I worked with, his name was Troy.
Trees.
And he was.
Then I don't have to, if you, as long as you lease them.
That was one of the turtles.
Like you're doing to.
Yeah.
Very just.
Somewhere
Sounds
where
like
you
they
did
would have
one,
wasted.
you're paying $1 a tree or something, then you have to be like.
What do you mean? I think.
And it isn't gonna
You
be,
didn't make this
I
chart.
don't envision making enough this year to sell
I
anyway,
saw
so
that she put a pair in,
Because it's
go outside and.
the rule of 86.
Oh.
So if you have 1% sugar in your sap.
When I was standing.
You want to have 86 grams of sugar, or sap, like 1 gallon of sugar, syrup.
Yeah, I'm on.
So if you get sugar maple, it can be 2 to 3%, so you get to 2%. Then you only need 43 gallons.
Really, before you could.
Still quite a bit.
Now he said at the dinner table, if you turn them down.
Mhm.
I don't have the air. A lot of times when I'm with my wife, I turn them on.
So how many gallons like would a
No,
normal?
but I got it.
Those are all different.
I'm doing the same thing. I
Well,
got
so
it.
they'll,
Just too
how
many
much they
years.
produce is depending on how they run and.
I got a range there, I can't hear.
Yeah, some of them you just get very little a day, and sometimes I guess if the run is really good, you'll get gallons a day.
Oh, yeah, and I tell my wife, and she eventually, her hearing, I said, you gotta mute the ads, I said, it's just.
Run about 20 tabs, so tabs,
So then when the ads.
box elder.
But I can also, she's got.
You just put one on a tree?
Yeah.
Depending on the size, you can
She's
put
probably
more.
do too.
So, it needs to be 10 inch diameter, and you get over 20, money and they say for two. But it's also, you know, so if you tap here, next time you have to say at least any way this way or this way. So, yeah, you know, if you had, let's say you had 200 trees, you could tap 50 years, it's not, you know, if you have a 10-inch maple tree in your lifetime, you're gonna run out of tapping.
Oh, for the Bluetooth, okay, Android, Samsung made one that.
Cause once it runs, then it kind of plugs in.
But I can program
In that spot.
I suppose it heals itself.
Well, even so, it doesn't sound like it's.
Also, and you feel like it's, you don't have to be doing this stuff anymore.
You wanna stay away from where it's been tapped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause it's weird, what I notice the most is, like, when I'm walking in the snow, you know. Crouch.
Sounds like bombs going off.
Well, it's just a lot louder than it used to be. And then I could hear my, signal light. Sometimes I couldn't hear.
Oh, the click, 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 yeah.
So you could watch the Vikings game and have Paul Allen in your ear.
I'm good.
Yeah.
It's much problem to watch the game.
The problem with that is the timing's off.
Yeah.
Probably about a half a minute.
Yeah, it is, it's, because I'd rather listen to the
Me too.
call out than watch the, they've got that figured out, so you.
So, yeah, we'll,
When I go out to hold the grass in the summer.
I got lined up for probably 10, 12 this
Throw my
year.
headphones on and I go out and hold grass.
Nine more.
Why not?
Yeah.
So then one day
I
we'll.
like sitting upstairs and listening to it on the radio when everybody's downstairs. Now, when something big happens, I scream and holler and it pisses them off. I'll scream touchdown, and they haven't even snapped the ball yet.
Or.
Never know.
Yeah, what it is.
No, get that set up so that while I'm boiling, then I
Read a
can
little bit about it.
make, I got a bunch of bee boxes I gotta get made yet.
Top school,
Yeah.
which is fun.
But you gotta not walk away from the syrup too much either.
And then when you, the gas.
Because
station
lower-
there, and you-
Everything they say is you want to have like 2 inches of fat in the pan,
That's cheaper.
and then when it gets down to about an inch, you add it.
Price sign.
Cause I mean, the pan I got's like that deep, but the more you have, the harder it is to boil.
Yeah. Yeah, just harder to heat it up. The more you got.
Right, and I'm not set up to do wood this year,
Big guy, and he's always got some.
so I'll use a turkey fryer, so.
He's walking out of the house, he's got 3 rolls.
But even so, we'll see how much that runs, because wood's not free either.
Go over.
No.
I'm gonna straighten them out.
I don't think there's too much of anything that's free other than.
Yeah. You know, you're gonna double the price of his property.
Sailboat fuel. Sailboat fuel.
Toilet is big.
Well, yeah, I find it interesting, the news, they make a big deal out of $6 for a dozen eggs. And then people don't think nothing about spending $6 for a pack of cereal every day.
Six, I think it's worth 10 or
Well, yeah, I don't know what they are, but I have, so if you compare what people are buying,
Right.
eggs are still not maybe of that worst value.
No,
Good
I
idea.
agree with you. I don't see where that's a big
Or
force.
something at home, because I think less, their neighbors.
They're low, I think gas is, everything is actually coming down in the past 5 years.
They got the Erie air running on lower L.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess.
They're trying to save the fish in there.
Apparently, yeah.
I would not.
Get some what?
At Costco this weekend, $6.50, and there was a line for it.
Did they got enough of them around?
It was borderline.
Okay.
You know what?
They're only allowed one, two or three.
We went to, the places over
Are they running the power?
on 114 south of 27, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles.
We got a guy down on Lower Elk.
Kim and Doug Oaks, they went to Florida, so then the day they come home, we took the dog over there.
Yeah, I got it.
Place, but he had eggs, or he didn't have any, but he was selling this for only $3 a dozen.
We just went to 4
Reed's
years.
usually the one.
Couple weeks ago.
Because
Yeah, February.
likes to fish that way. Both of them.
Okay, I hope oxygen levels aren't bad.
I
Like I guess monsoon,
Did you put walleye in that one?
Boulder,
Okay.
same guy that church.
Right,
If they put them in Thompson.
In my lake,
I cleaned that lake up.
In my lake, north end.
Oh.
If you brought your dollar bills along.
Water is blue as eagle.
Oh, I know that.
Run me a
Right,
tab.
all them, all them, you know,
Maybe you've signed this, I don't know. This is the
No.
Rail Association?
You know,
yeah, that'd be another one.
about 10 years ago, I called it Shallow Lake.
Opie.
Yeah.
Do there. So I called Boulder up and you come in.
Try the big otter one, right?
I just want clean water for the Sago Grove.
Yeah,
And then you come in.
I think so.
That's, you start that, goes, oh, yeah. And then he told me he was selling them. I don't know.
oh, really?
So he probably.
Maybe a market.
Maybe, but then he put the fry in there, and then the first year it was half and half, you know, both half and fry, and then. Now,
Flip-flopped.
they've carried over for 3 years.
And then this one looks familiar.
And he went in last fall with his trap, he had 11 of them in there.
Okay.
Okay.
But he said, I'm gonna get them all.
You already signed
So I
it.
hope they survive this
Right.
year.
I don't know if I did.
Are there a couple deep holes in that?
I guess.
No, it's all.
It's gonna be, might be a tough winter,
Yeah,
not ice and snow this year,
yeah.
more ice than snow.
I went out there with my plow truck a couple weeks. ago.
Oh, nice.
I know where the weeds are.
Okay, so
And I
you,
plowed it.
okay.
So we'll, but boy, if we fund this summer, if they.
Yeah.
That's, shouldn't be too much.
Farm near you.
Oh,
Okay.
People come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all,
So there's-
that lake has no access, other than 3 other people that own it.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
the water,
Yeah.
you know, it's a meter,
Yep.
water,
And just
water, but someone can't come out and over it.
Yeah, Pelican's really been giving the fish up.
But, you know, if they want
6,
to fish,
7
they go there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of throwbacks going.
There's,
Yeah.
a lot of frost in
And
there.
it's that out like- and so, you
Yep.
know, it's kind of.
There's gonna be a lot coming out.
Yes, that's, sure, it's not, yeah.
And then I did get a call from. the-
Very long been called
Frost boils.
This is Airway.
Gonna be rough.
Yeah, so you must, you guys must be getting, trying to get one with Lake Association.
Down,
Hey, John's a really good guy.
It seemed like, no, I know, but we talked for 4 or 5 minutes, he seemed like. a good shit.
That was big, other than.
Probably after this spring, now, if I wanna do some cement in my shed, we probably got a frost.
Did you know that up earlier?
Thaw
Yes, I
that
did
we
know that.
had this year.
Okay.
Yeah. You had a pre-stock, so you should be good now.
Cause last year, I mean, there wasn't much.
No.
Yeah.
That's how you got the chicken coop that never gets into the pre-stock thing. Hope they hold together.
They hold the. I tell them, you
Do you have your computer to print another one on it?
I don't know, I don't have access to any printers, but I can,
How did I do that?
know that water on town,
Yeah, I
Send it to Katie, she'll print it for you.
yeah, I will.
Yeah, I guess it would, they're the same. Hey, we can do that, but then she'll see the others.
Does that really matter?
Well, if you got an extra one, just tear the top. Well,
Maybe.
I could, put a whiteout across there and make a copy.
That would work.
Yeah, I'll go do that.
I don't
Okay.
think
This year they were working on my shed on the twenty-first
last year.
of
Or
February,
what we could do is make,
putting a roof,
put a
putting
sheet
tin
of
on the
paper
roof.
here, here, make a copy too.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, it,
Oh, yeah,
took an
yeah,
hour.
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the church.
Uncle Dick's shed, that was big enough, they had to do both sides, you know, they had to do it in thirds.
Cause, here's where they drove, and this was like at 8:34 when I took a picture. That's where they drove their, that big lift down so they could come along the end.
You'll have to come up there this summer, so.
Yeah.
And we have to do out there, you know. These guys, they come on, they have a few beers.
So one of Jake's cats, it sits outside her one door and bells.
I never thought about that.
And Penny's so
I
sorry.
told him, I never verbalized that, but I looked at it on the table.
Cats is, yeah. Well, he went down to two, so I
I don't
know.
think it was very good.
We hadn't seen him for a while.
You don't have any years.
Yeah.
No,
You do now.
I said we could get, you can get one, but it's gotta stay outside. She's like, I can't make that promise. And I'll build it. I'll be more.
We shake dice, you know, for an hour.
I'm thinking of getting one of them,
You know, the Cadillac you drive.
these little Vivo heaters. Have you seen them? But they keep the chicken up there. Or to help anyway. This year.
I always like that. I don't know what kid I was, but the cop talking to that guy. He said, why you stop? He said, you got a tail light on.
Yeah, they
He
run,
says, I do that. The guy backs up.
this is out of stock, but you can get, they run around $100.
Oh, okay.
And you can run an exhaust off of it, so you can have it inside and then exhaust off the wall. Otherwise, what I do for the chicken coop, I just build a little external box and pull, you know, so that you're heating up warm air rather than just heating the outside air up. But then that way it won't get so hot that you start a fire. No. But I think what we'll do is, I'm just gonna keep spray foaming and breathe it.
I think this, that heater, that little hut there, I think that was 60 something bucks. We ordered it off of Amazon somewhere or something, but yeah, the last year I built like a little straw. Well, I had it right in front of the shed. Well, it gets snow on it, it shouldn't get too wet. It didn't get wet inside, but, and I had a bunch of little straw in there, but I put it. I did two inch insulation, I had it on the floor, and I put both that much straw in there, and then when he kind of dug up, you know, made a nest in there, but so then I had, you know, like one row of bales, and I put a piece of blue stuff on top, and I put a bale on there, you know, so that kept the moisture from going through the bales. And then you get, well, had it right by the shed, and I don't think any mice were around it, cause he would've got him. He's a good
Mine's
mouse.
actually going in for a follow-up, cause she had a bunch of follow-ups.
But then you get to clean it, and it was on a pallet, well, I got a skunk under there. When you know,
3 years.
Yeah, that's
So-
what they did with her.
now he's in the shed, so.
Yeah, I threw, before it got cold here, I threw a fresh. I used a straw. The nesting box. I noticed the ducks went into it for the little monsters. It started the first night, our first morning, but after one, where the little straw was, like, hey, this is this morning, now they were all. Do they spill so much?
Oh, them fuckers. Geese are worse.
And I mean, I've only got inside the group, I've only got nipple water. So how they spill so much water from that. But I mean, you go around and I've got pans underneath. Catch it, which 2 weeks and they're like 3-gallon pans, 2-3 weeks of ice. And I don't know how they get it.
Yep.
Everything's so crunchy around it.
Well, there's another one that doctor.
What they do. My little stock tank thing was chipping ice this morning. It was pretty solid.
This doctor walked in, he said something to the patient, well, Steve, this is your first rectal exam.
Then next week, we'll have little tubs out for them.
Something like that.
And they need it, they're filthy.
I don't know, I got it screwed up.
They're talking like,
He identified
they like
himself as
40
Steve,
something.
guys. Oh, he said, I'm Steve.
Yeah, that's why I want to get those taps in, because if it starts running, I don't want to miss.
Stay cold.
Yeah.
you ever get your 4-wheeler side by side or whatever you're gonna get?
Yeah, I got both now, because she wants to keep the.
And my dad had prostate cancer a while back, and I've got kind of a nodule on the line, so every year when I go for a physical, Most guys would get, or your PSA's low, you're good. No, they gotta give
Yeah,
you
right before deer hunting
an
started.
exam, just make sure it hasn't grown or.
Yeah. The first time I had that. Dr. Marching.
Oh, yeah. They got a heater in there too, or?
Heater and air conditioning, yeah.
Well, he said we gotta do.
No radio and the window
He said
I'm saying that. Radio.
I got enough Bluetooth devices.
What's the
I'm just fine.
Well, when I get in there.
Yeah, the dog, I think the dog likes it. It's when Penny's not with. You know, she'll sit right here and you can see everything.
Yeah, the old massage.
Normally, she doesn't get to sit right there and see. But after about 10 minutes of doing, she just starts shaking.
Yeah.
The side of the.
You got options.
Side of her, she's that, if she's scared, she's gonna get around. She's got some baggage. It's hard to tell for sure.
Well, that's what I wonder, you know, the cat, you got a cat. Anyway, when we were living over at the other place,
Yeah.
it was probably end of October, middle of October, somewhere on there somewhere. Well, if you come home at night or whatever, this cat was too big, goddamn box elder trees. Them old gnarly hollow. And the cat was on one or the other across the driveway, and
Stay above the grass.
they're only about that far off the inside of the driveway.
Only a year.
And, both the whistles, and, or a little more, and,
You don't look 70.
and it was, I'd say, it wasn't full, probably 3/4 grown or whatever. I wonder if somebody didn't drop it or whatever, but I can't get close to it. I ain't never done nothing to it, or it's a hurt. But she'll jump up on her and go by. So then he starts feeding this cat. It's not that can't get leave. Oh, it'll leave. Oh, okay.
Well, there was food out there last week.
So then she made a little box and she had a pretty sturdy cardboard box that she
Do you
put,
get out in any fish
put
house?
like a garbage bag around it, put a piece of carpet on the floor on the box on the outside. Kind of slid under the, like, by the deck, so it didn't, weather didn't really go up there.
Oh, okay.
When it started getting cold, so then she left the walk-in garage door open. And,
Okay.
which the heater was running and the door was open, you know, and really good, but. So then the cat finally went in there, so then I made a head of 2x4 and it went up and hooked on the top of the door and then pulled that far off the ground so the cat could go in. But then it finally was in there and then
Okay.
he put a litter box and stuff in
Yeah,
there.
I,
So then she'd go out every
I
night,
like doing that stuff.
sit for a goddamn hour with this cat. And this went on for a couple of years. I mean, in daytime, at night, the cat would go outside.
We haven't seen any walleye.
So then-
It's got walleye in it, but a lot of it.
Then that's took about 2 years, well, then that fall, when I was over where I'm at now, drying corn, you know. Well, I come home a couple mornings, or that one morning, and the goddamn cat was denied, so how come that's in here? Oh, I've been, she didn't get it all the time, see. Well, it's been coming in the night, I was gone all night. I said, well, how long's that been? Oh, quite a while.
Since you started that coming home.
So I said, what's gonna be the difference if I'm here or not? You're gonna have it in here anyway, so you might as well leave the goddamn.
Yeah.
So then that's, it was in that house for 2-3 years, now it's been out here for 3 years, so. Whatever.
Yeah, Jake, cats. In the summer especially, if you go start mowing or making some noise, you'll see them crawl out of the box elder trees like that scratch. It's like, yep, I just go, come on.
I never bought into that too.
Did EAW,
But she,
which we just paid the bill today.
Well, some of them
Where that's at.
she hates to go to the vet, you know, she just took her over there a couple of weeks ago, she shot her.
They're all.
Well, you can't look at put her in the art area because it goes like this. So they give you some,
And then I did-
cat,
No, that'd be not.
it's like a muscle. smash it up and put it in food like the night before. Well,
These small cities. where
it's a pill, and they must know how much they get for that, so. So then that night, the cat jumped up on the bed.
And whether it's.
Fucking laid, never moved all night, woke up before she thought the cat was dead.
There's money coming out for the state.
But the point was until one, so then she had to give her some more in the morning.
So we're gonna just give her a Saturday morning.
You know,
More.
it's gonna be somebody give her. Carries the ball.
Had to give her 2 times.
To get some money. Come out.
So then she was getting ready and she looked out the, like the bathroom door by the living room, and she looked out there and, you know, how they sit with their feet on, you know, and like a wolf. Well, the cat was sitting there with his head right on the, looked just like a junk, they had it right on the carpet, you know.
A lot of times that revenue that goes.
But then when she got over to the vet, that son of a bitch was just wild again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Gonna have to get involved. So that's it's a huge commitment,
Those kind of.
You know, so, and I knew that she was working as a city Wendell clerk with the HOA. I knew that. So I just wanted to know just how far that process got. You know, because we're gonna do actually the highway from the bank and west, we're gonna do some of that.
Yeah.
Blacktop, but, you know, so there's infrastructure needs, and they had talked about it right off crossing the bank about doing something, and they acquired the property already to do it. So, I don't know,
Yeah, they're needed.
you know, we're gonna do, put it,
We're always good to back.
you know, brand new road on top of it, old infrastructure that's over there. They gotta get involved with that. Much like Norcross, okay? Norcross wants a new blacktop road. Okay, well, the water main is 1957. Cause that's the founding stamp on the hydrants, and that tells you how old the main is downstairs. Well, you get old plumbing and old, you know what I mean? And then you're gonna dig in the street 5 years later. Well, they gotta get ahead of that. So then that's all, those services are stuffed in and poked in, and you're digging in the street. You know, so you gotta get ahead of all this, you know, cause money don't come in 15 minutes. So the city has to.
Yep, this is Bill. Checks in the mail.
There's another law, you know.
It ain't that easy.
I would say too.
Oh, I come in the back door and a lot of
Sheriff's
things.
office comes- It doesn't say.
You have to, okay, the front door is locked, okay? And if you go down to the Senate building in the house,
I found that out. They
do
called
not tell them you're coming,
somebody in there.
cause then it won't be there. They'll disappear into those buildings and go sit in the committee, sit,
On that.
you know, whatever. But if you show up unannounced,
I could just picture you sneaking around.
you're darn right.
Peeking around the corner.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Bill's.
He caught us, you know, so a lot of times you catch up on a lot of information that is absolutely material, you know that? And my timing has been impeccable on something.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told. Your timing-
You
We just got done talking about.
Just using it as.
Quite the-
Excuse me, you gotta slow down a little bit
Impeccable.
there. Yeah, I didn't. You know, it seemed different.
Sneak in the
The
back
juice for
door.
me is clawback. And the more that you can squawk a little bit and show the need,
But they did.
and you know, here's the thing, these towns and the people out in the metro areas that I've talked to, you know what I mean, they can't believe that we don't have the traffic
The
lights.
sheriff's
So
office.
they have made them just see out, drive around, and they love this county. Cause they can, you know, there's services enough and core services and things like that, and decent homes. And there's a lot of people-
No, I think.
What's that?
Well, you said it, like it's walking out. You're right, there's no doubt about that.
Got a blubber, it's called blubbering.
I don't know.
So anyway, the people that do come out here, that are coming from the, you know, that you got maybe extended family or people in Ferguson now, and around the area and stuff like that. And they go look at those homes in those bigger towns, and they come here, and they go, you guys in your county have good quality homes for about half the cost of what we're gonna have the metro. And we would rather live in a slow pace,
Whenever they got in trouble.
you know what I mean? Decent community where they get return on their investment and things like that when the time comes. And I mean, they're buying homes that are, you know, if they were in the metro, they'd pay like 100,000 and they're paying $175 here. So they're selling with.
Pennies.
I said, I hope not, because that's a felony.
Right?
Well, maybe.
Oh,
Mom was about 79.
No, but that's where it's at. So our broadband speed with and country setting living and core services and things like that, there's a lot of people. I got a family that's down in that Hoffman area that owns land. And I'm not gonna say names.
You got a family down there?
I don't, but
Well, you just said you did.
it's a family.
What do they call that, rubbernecking?
Yeah.
So
I know you're on there.
they
I can remember those.
they've driven around the county. They live in the metro. Okay, they grew up here. The wife graduated from Hoffman. Okay,
She was a
So they were
Bearcat.
just from Hoffman, but now they live in the city.
She was a
Yeah,
Bearcat.
well, but they wanna come back here.
She was a Bearcat, huh?
They must have been.
Her next victim.
That's what
Patriot, maybe Hoffman Patriots, weren't they? What?
That was Hoffman Kensington.
Okay.
It was Hoffman
Was it
Bearcat.
Bearcat? Okay. But anyway,
Back when I was a kid.
I never asked her that. But I've been, quizzed, they're looking for building sites throughout the county out here.
Better move quick, they're disappearing.
Yeah, you think? So they're tasking me to try to find them something. Cause they made an offer on what I have and I don't wanna sell.
Thought you lived in town.
I do. That's my office.
How come everybody's smiling?
Oh, just a happy bunch.
I'm just being truthful. It's a shop office. That's it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
How are you?
I'm cold.
Yeah.
How are you?
Terrible.
Good.
About the same.
It's not warmer here. You're a little further north, so I thought it might be a little colder.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 degrees.
all right.
Oh.
Well, would you like to do introductions or should we skip that step?
I think we could skip it.
Okay.
It's me, Doyle.
All right, well, we'll get into the presentation part of it. So Tina, if you want to take over, we can start.
Sure. Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. My name is Tina Lindquist and I know all of you from past employment. Some of you might be wondering why I'm here today. And I just would like to start the presentation off with the word timing. I really think that waiting for the right time to act and having patience is really important to having a good start to any kind of leadership position. You may be aware that I have 24.5 years of service, all here in Grant County, working with all levels of government to include the townships, the cities, and the county, obviously, with my past job. But also the regional and state level, I was really involved with a lot of projects, both with our neighboring counties and our bigger central Minnesota region, as well as I've been involved with AMC and different state committees and initiatives as well. So the first question on the list here says, please tell us what county government means to you. What that means to me is serving the public and working for your neighbors. It also means trying to help create a safe and progressive community. And I know at the county level, we have the luxury here of having some of the best communities. I've always stated that, and really working together because we're only as good as our neighbors are when we live in rural Minnesota and we have limited resources. The next question was, what challenges do you think Grant County might face in the next few years and how your skills and experience enable you to help the county successfully meet them? Well, I think it's safe to say, because historically there's been unfunded mandates that might continue to happen, and how as a smaller county, you make those mandates happen when you're not being funded to get them done. That takes a lot of planning and teamwork to make sure that we're not losing any services, especially in the world today when we're living in a very evolving political climate. We really have to stick together and work well together to continue to provide the services that we already provide and any other services that come in the future. And the other big thing is technology. Technology moves extremely fast. It's a part of all of our jobs, but government tends to move a slower than technology. And how do you bridge that gap and how do you make that work in an efficient and effective way to continue to offer all the same services to the constituents? The third question is, if selected for this position, what would be included in your transition plan as the new county coordinator? The transition plan would depend. I have commitments that I'm currently in the middle of that I would like to see through. But I'm willing to have the discussion and be transparent about what that might look like moving forward. I am in no rush. I don't know where the county sits as far as how immediate you're looking, but it would definitely be something to sit down and work on together. What would be your first priorities? I think coming in with the history that I have and the knowledge of things that, you know, are probably happening, it was a little bit hard for me to answer because I want to jump right to that. But I think in all honesty, the first priority would be to look at innovative ways to enhance communications. Having had the experience to work in a different county and see how things are done, I feel that maybe I could bring some new insight or feedback to be looked at on how to really be innovative and make sure that we have that whole community feel and that teamwork and collaborative culture here in Grant County. Obviously, there would be time to learn about the progress of work that's been completed since I've left, and also get an understanding of any new projects that have come up in the meantime. And then personally, I would need to get more connected, I feel like, with AMC and other county coordinators to kind of get a feel for what that world looks like and how involved you should be and what are priority committees through AMC and things like that to get involved with.
All right, thank you for that. So now we're going to move into other questions, and at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to ask us some questions. So what do you consider to be the significant aspect of building a positive work environment? As a county coordinator, what steps would you take to facilitate this outcome?
Okay, so aspects, we'll start with that. Trust and loyalty to your word. If you say you're going to do something, make sure it gets done. Nothing can be accomplished unless there's trust with the people working together. Transparency is extremely important. Sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree. Sometimes hard decisions have to be made, but that transparency goes a long way to lean back on trusting each other, that we all have the same end goal to serve the constituents of Grant County, and then being loyal to your word. Communications, I think you all probably had a file you deleted after I left with all the emails that I'd sent out. I'm a big communicator. I think it's important, and I would make that a part of the job. And then I think follow through. We can't move forward if we don't have any follow through, and I think follow through is really important. People need to be held to a high standard because we serve our neighbors, and making sure things are happening that are supposed to be happening, or if they said they were going to get done, make sure that all of that is happening, and that coordination piece is something I do have a lot of experience with. Most of that experience is in high stress environments and working under that environment to make sure that those follow through and things are getting completed. Steps, I would use my historical knowledge of Grant County. I think understanding all the great strides that have happened through the years, but also understanding some of the things that maybe we learned or could do better going forward. I could bring that perspective to it all through that historical knowledge, reaching out to my already established network of stakeholders in the county, community partners, and just residents in general, having a solid understanding of what resources we have and what resources we might need and where we could maybe find them. And then continue to use my strong work ethic and organizational skills to again push through and make sure there's follow-up and follow-through on any initiatives.
All right, what factors do you think leads to a successful organizational change, and what factors hinder the process? Give us an example where you've helped lead organizational change.
Well, I think, transparency is huge, right? If people don't trust you, they're not gonna wanna work with you, so I think, having the right people at the table, making sure the conversations are being had at the right time with the right people and not, at different times with maybe people that don't need to be involved, and making sure that when, a decision is made, that it gets shared with everybody it might affect. And also on the other side of that is if there's a decision to be made that will affect somebody, making sure they're part of the conversation from the get-go, so they're aware of that. As far as examples, I guess, for transition, let's just pick a cyber attack. I feel like that event here in Grant County kind of brought us from one era into a new era of where we have to really think so much bigger and broader than just Grant County or our immediate area here that involved, people from around the globe and responding to that and recovering from that and transitioning through that time and becoming better because of it would be one example.
This is a key management position within the county, and it is critical that the successful candidate be able to work well with the public and county board. Comment on your skills, which would enable you to succeed in this area.
I'm not shy, so I think that's helpful. I tend to be very funny, so I can lighten the mood for any kind of serious climate if it's needed, but I also feel that I can bring some value and integrity to a very important or intense situation. I like to be a positive impact in everything I do, understanding that not everybody might always agree. But I am not afraid of the hard things. I think with professionalism, transparency, and good communication skills, you can work through those.
All right, so this is a scenario question. The county board is trying to decide on a controversial topic. You have very strong personal feelings on the subject. You are asked by the county board to prepare a summary for the board members on the pros and cons for them to make a decision at their next meeting. Discuss your process and outcome.
Well, the process would start when the very first conversation took place. I love taking notes. It's kind of organizational skills is one of my strong suits. So I pride myself on always having notes to look back on. And I would start with that first conversation, again, kind of leaning back to the things already discussed, making sure the right people are at the table. If things come up in that initial meeting that might include others and they're not there that first time, making sure they get there. Having the follow through on the things that, I would say I would do, making sure that's communicated, making sure helping the board stay on task, making sure that they have follow through. So when we do come together to meet, because time is valuable. And so all meetings are efficient and effective, and we have something tangible. We have those minutes and documentation to look back on as we move forward. So building pros and cons on a whiteboard, which is one of my favorite things to do, is to use a whiteboard, is a skill I think I could bring to the table. And I think any personal bias that you would have in this position would need to be set aside. At times that might be hard, but I think if you're good at the job and being very transparent, you can also be held accountable by your professional peers. But I think first and foremost is the constituents of Grant County and what's best for them and how we can serve them best. So that would be the number one value or mission statement to every project that was initiated. And I think that's important to kind of have that mission statement when you begin a new project or initiative. So you can always go back to that when you come to those hard decisions or those tough conversations to make sure that we're all sticking to the end goal to serve the public of Grant County.
All right, if you are asked to take the lead in a new program or project and there is not buy-in from other department heads, how will you get them on board?
Well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't always make them drink it, correct? So again, going back to everything I've said already. I think a lot of that, I would hope could be worked through that initial communication process, getting the right people involved from the very beginning. So if it's something that impacts them, they have a voice. I think everybody deserves the opportunity to be heard. It doesn't mean everybody deserves the opportunity to get their way or to be right. I think we all hold ourselves to a level of professionalism that if we have the right people at the table and having that transparency in those discussions at the right time and not at different times or with different audiences, but with the right audience, and we start off on the right foot and we stay on the right path, we can get to a resolution. And it might take, me included or the board included or other department heads included, everybody has to be fluid and flexible, right? Sometimes we're given variables that are outside of our control. But I think, again, going back to good documentation, timing, the right people, and transparent communication, I think we can get through. We can get through it. We've got through it in the past. I'm very confident we can do it in the future.
All right, so what do you feel the county coordinator's role should be with the county board?
Well, I would, kind of put that back to the county board, and have a clear understanding of what your expectations are. I think a coordinator, the way I understand how a coordinator works, is somebody that's here to coordinate, to help collaborate. It's, to my understanding, it is not a position of authority per se to make standalone decisions. It's to make sure all the right people are at the table to make the decision. So I would just try to help you guys look good, right? Make sure that you have all the information you need to make the decisions that you need to make. And so just like putting a puzzle together, right? You gotta find all the right pieces for the part of the puzzle you're working on, make sure all those pieces are together, be the one constant that's always documenting, is always organizing the facts, putting together the pros and cons, making sure that everybody's made aware. And it's so much bigger than just internally, right? Because if we're dealing with something that impacts one of our communities or neighborhoods, or if it's a water issue and it affects one lake, again, making sure that somebody's always responsible to get the right players to the table from the beginning. I think that coordinating piece is how I view this by the title. Again, there would be some questions back to the board on what your expectations are. But I know there is a difference between a coordinator and an administrator, and I understand that coordination is the priority piece. And, to use the analogy of emergency management, that's what a lot of emergency management is too, is coordinating, right? Getting all the right resources together to respond to something, to recover to something. And I think a coordinator is the same principle. You get all the right people together, all the right resources together to respond or to make a decision or to recover or to start an initiative or a new project.
So you've answered kind of this, I'm gonna ask it, but what about during the discussion of a controversial subject at the county board meeting? What's the role?
The role is to understand Robert's Rules of Orders and to make sure that we are staying aligned with how the process of government is supposed to work. I think, there could be a lot of value in looking at, other meetings where you have the meat and the potato discussion. So when you come to the county board meeting, all the information is already provided. And so it's, more of the decision-making piece to it. And I think if you can get into that kind of culture and that kind of habit, hopefully those, controversial conversations are not taking place at a public meeting for the first time. They've been well discussed and thought out. So just the facts are in front.
As the county coordinator, you have 5 elected officials as your boss. How will you balance their varying needs and priorities?
Well, I think just good time management, establishing trust, again, making sure that all the conversations that happen are, you're transparent. You're not meeting with 5 individual people of a board member. When you're doing board business, if it's a committee of the board and there's 2 commissioners, or if it's, a discussion where all the commissioners are are a part of it, just making sure that, you're having that same conversation, that the trust is there and that the transparency is there, that the follow through is there. And that really, communications is huge, and documentation and taking notes and providing packets of information. And just keeping everybody on the same page. Consistent messaging is extremely important. Some will say in an emergency, which it is, but I think it's extremely important for everyday operations as well.
Leadership ability is vital to the success of this position. Please describe what leadership means to you, how you have provided it in your past jobs, and your experience in organizing or being part of a team.
Well, that's a lot of information to answer. I think leadership wise, I think I've worked with all of you in different initiatives and different emergencies where I've been a leader. I'm not a leader that likes to stand alone. I'm a leader that likes to understand my weaknesses and surround myself with people that have really good strengths to fill those weaknesses. So it's a well-balanced group of people working together. If we look at COVID, when it hit, and how Grant County responded, that would have been a leadership role. When the cyber attack happened, a leadership role. I've taken leadership roles within our communities, organizing and helping host community events, working at the fair, working with the fair board. Again, I think that bigger picture of understanding who the stakeholders are, who the community partners are, and what resources we have here. I think I bring a strong knowledge of that. And I think that, helps me to be able to lead a discussion. But again, I like a team approach. I'm very team orientated. It probably started back in high school when I was in sports and being on a team and all the things you learn from doing things like that, and to being a parent with 2 young men, that I have to be a very strong leader sometime with them. And then just having, again, 25 years of experience in county government and understanding that the collaboration is definitely needed to make progress.
How will you build rapport with your fellow department head?
Well, I think making sure that each department head is seen and heard, or felt seen and heard, getting to understand what their departments do, what their needs are, what strengths they can bring to the table, what are some of the needs they might have, and just building off that, number one priority in a positive work environment of trust and loyalty. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If there needs to be follow through, you do follow through. Make sure you're transparent. Nobody likes to feel like they're blindsided with something. So communications is key.
All right, so does the board have additional questions?
I do. Talk about trust, transparency, and follow through, and obviously a wealth of experience in Grant County. And you talked about the coordinator's position comparative to like the administrators. Do you sense when you apply the trust, transparency, and follow through that you could navigate into the lane of more of a leader with the department heads, or what's your view to, because you're in a sense, you're an equal, you're not an administrator. You sense your knowledge and experience and your style. Will you get in their lane, or talk about that?
Well, I think trust is trusting that all the department heads are extremely capable and doing their job to the best of their ability. So I would never feel that it would be appropriate for me to question anything like that. I always assume that everyone is doing the best they can do. I think any kind of conversation about an administrator would be a different meeting, because today we're talking about the coordinator position, and I feel strongly that the coordinator position is just that, a coordinator position. In the future, if the board would move in a different direction, then the conversation could be had at that time. But I feel very confident that the department heads here in Grant County are very good at their job and they just need another they're an asset to Grant County, they're an asset to this position and understanding how this position could support them.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I'd like to touch on a little bit of the role that you used to be in emergency management. Okay, and this is just, you know, what I've seen and worked with you in the past. With Dwight and I sit on the emergency services board. And the follow through and the carrying of the ball, you know, whether it be EMAC or it'd be, you know, owners and operators and RAC and things like that. There's a lot of moving parts to that central region board. And you were a critical point on that. You took care of things. There was always our commitment, and we see it on the board level as far as us on our leadership and, you know, the people that are in those roles. And us as a commitment of showing up to meetings and taking care of business was, you know, I'm gonna give you an attaboy on that because there's a lot of moving parts on that. And you did a great job there. So I'll just say that.
Any questions? All right, questions for us? Do you have any questions?
Well, I think some of it was already kind of answered. It's just kind of what the expectations are and, you know, where you're at with things right now and how you see this position kind of integrating in and picking up and moving forward. But the clarity on the coordinator, you know, because I think a coordinator is a coordinator. It's an equal player to come to the table. And that is how I'm entering this application and interview, is that's what I'm being hired for.
Questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? All right, we are interviewing today, and so the board will make the decision. We will go from there and be in contact with you after that. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
For
Dina.
coming in. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Well, I'd like to start the discussion by making the motion that we have the personnel committee negotiate hiring Tina Lindquist.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion about either candidate, I guess?
I got a question, she referenced commitments. So are we looking at offering her to start at a specific date with understanding that we might have some transition where she would be taking on some duties in her prior employment, a little bit like Carl's doing, or is this gonna be? I mean, obviously, maybe in your negotiation, you'll find that out, but if she says, well, this gets extended, where are we at with that? Or is that a personnel committee discussion?
I would think that would really be ironed out with personnel to figure that piece out or get that information, but.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that, but I think we should, and you find that out, it's important.
Well, that would be part of the onboarding and you know, to me, that is part of why I would like to see Tina's made a commitment and saying, yes, this is what I want to do, but I'm not gonna walk away from that commitment. I want to see it through. And
Which is, that's a good character.
Can we touch on a little bit of the strengths of both candidates, just as a discussion? I think they're both strong candidates, and I think they both have been in government. And I think they're both leaders. And this is again a tough decision to make as far as a board level. But there's a need to be able to, you know, meet everybody in the middle and, you know, and have a negotiating, you know, ability for, you know, things that progress and things like that, but even just, you know, as far as budgets and where things are at and a little bit of backbone to say no. And I'm not willing and ready to bring that to the board yet and things like that. You know, both of them are probably very, very strong in that aspect. But, you know, we need continuity and strong leadership and, like I said, both candidates, I think, you know, displayed that. So again, it's a tough decision, but I will support the board's decision when we do.
I'd like to say the same, I know both of these candidates, I've watched them for many years, and I know they both do a good job, they're well respected. I just wanna make that known, that they are top candidates, both of them, so. Yeah, we were lucky today to have them both interviewed.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The personnel committee will set up a meeting to discuss the offer. And once we can agree with the candidate, then I'll come to the board for approval of that. So that's kind of the timeline.
Do we keep these or you turn them back in?
I can take them if you'd like.
Anybody got anything else?
I'm gonna finish in a little bit.
Then yours look blank. Oh, no, you did take mine. Okay. Thank you.
We'll adjourn at 11:32.
Yeah, you did good.